because everybody like creates content in their own way. Like I don't know, like I just seen Arknights before, but I was like, I don't know about that. And
Not very
then
sure
I
about
was
the game.
like, yeah, I was like, I don't know if I want to play this, because I never really played tower defense. And I think that's more or less what it was. It wasn't that I thought the game was like a bad game. It's just I never played a tower defense before.
Mhm.
I was like, I don't know. But this is probably one of the hardest games I've ever played. I'm like, okay.
Oh, really? Really? So of all
Yeah.
PC games, anything at all, you think this is the hardest one you've played?
It's the Bloodborne, Dark Souls. It's the Elden Ring of tower defense, man. Like I just don't understand. Like, but it's good though.
I think it's the when you say it's the Bloodborne and all, I think we can call it it's the Dark Souls of mobile games. I think you can feel that way.
Yeah,
Because in PC we've got some
fair.
monstrous ones, but for mobile gaming, this is somehow up there. I mean, we got big game titles, but then AK takes a step when it comes to difficulty.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
it's gonna be interesting. But yes, I decided to begin recording. So this is Zoxaskun on the other side of the screen. I'm actually really, really happy to have you on the screen. Just to let you know, one of my editors is like a big fan of yours ever since you came to Arknights. So he was like,
Really?
you're gonna get him on the video? Yo, I'm so happy. Then I was like, yeah, I'll tell him about it. I'll tell him that you love him. So
Well, tell him I appreciate it.
yeah. At the same time, you definitely have a lot of people watching you now. A lot of people are definitely liking the fact that you are one of the new faces of AK. And in fact, there's a lot of new faces of AK in the recent few months. I'm surprised all of you came in at the same time, and everybody is also seeing and enjoying all of these new stuff. So that is great. Now, this is a bit of a opener question just for you, because this is about AK in a sense. So the fact that you have so many channels, and in this channel you've actually played other games before. So how do you find Arknights? Like, how did you not by that, but what I mean is, how do you see it for the first time?
Well, I'm kind of known in my community. Like, I always have an account. I have one account on every game. Like every gacha game, I have an account.
How many gacha games
so I haven't really. How many do I play? Now I only play 3 right now. But before I used to play like 11, 12 at a time. Like, it all kind of depended on what I was like doing.
Maybe that's why my editor likes you.
Yeah.
My editor will do things on the screen, and he'll show me a screen where he multi-Windows 11 gacha games, and I'm like, you can do that? My attention span can only do one thing.
It's a lot, man. Like, I mean, see, I guess for me, like, I kind of started out initially as like a individual creator creating on one thing. And my channel, like, by accident became a variety channel. Like, I didn't really intentionally try to become a variety channel. I actually didn't even start out really trying to cover gacha games initially. I started on a game called Darkness Rises. And a game before that called Evil Bane. That's I think it was made by Nexon. And it was a hack and slasher. So it was just like, this was like before the $100 packs and like, you know, crazy, like, hey, you got to hit the gacha to get stuff. I remember when that happened. My niche was actually free to play PvP scaling. So I was on like the top leaderboards as a free to play player. But monetization changed that. So
for one of the games that you played.
Yeah. It actually like, in a way, it ruined my content, because my content was about doing things free to play. And the way that they structured the game, it was like, no, you can't do this unless you start like putting money into the game, or at least keeping up, I should say. So I got into more variety stuff, and I'll say fast forwarding to the year that Arknights actually launched. I don't remember actually downloading and making an account, but apparently I did. Because when I actually started, I played it apparently at some point, and I guess to add context to the whole like doctor and the amnesia thing to the, like, you know, the storyline of Arknights, and that's kind of how it kind of started out for me. Like, I really honestly didn't remember, and that was like kind of one of the funny things, was like going back and watching my autos. And
you
I'm
actually had some good save data in.
Yeah, I was like, what the heck did I do this? Because even now, like, I'm still getting used to the game, but like, I was like looking at some of my auto plays, and I'm like, I was a god. Like I was like, maybe I was watching somebody at the time. I don't know. But yeah, it is just like kind of interesting to see. But I definitely started it when it first launched. Yeah, that's I just kind of like when it launched, it was one of the games that popped up and I downloaded and tried it.
And then eventually you also not played the game only until recently when you picked it back up. So what caused the return?
Well, honestly, I think it was really, and honestly, that's probably the most pivotal thing that I think that's happened in terms of how I've been making my content. I kind of wanted to, on that channel, not really take the guide approach anymore, which is kind of funny because some of my peers were like, oh, you can't do that. Like, you got to offer something to your audience in order for them to want to watch your stuff. And I was like, well, I am known for making guides. So my thing is that I'm very, very attentive. So when I was looking at Arknights, and I was like, it was crazy because the thing that actually like got me back into it was I actually already did a live stream. So I was just live streaming it just to kind of try it out because it had been so long. It'd been a couple years already since I had last tried it.
Okay.
And ironically, Tectone had made a video talking about how bad the community was. And the thing was that for me, I had a whole bunch of people trying to help me. They were giving me all these tips, suggestions, all this stuff. And I had ironically watched your video and I was like, this guy's my spirit animal. I was like, he literally is. I was like, it was the way you delivered the information. I was like, bro, like, because even in the video I made, I was like, man, you guys need to go watch this video because this is like the mentality that honestly I feel like it creates a certain level of positivity. Even though you can constructively analyze something, you still get a level of positivity within it because it's like, hey, that might have been the case for that person's perception, but hey, reality is right now, this is what it is for us. We're enjoying it. We shouldn't get caught up in this. We got our own stuff to focus on anyway. Like we got all this stuff going on. So that was kind of one of the things that kind of super spiraled me into it because I was like, oh no, dude, like this community has been like way too nice to me. And honestly, even off of the first stream I made, like I had people messaging me like, hey man, watch these videos, watch this person. They're like, you, Kaio, like all these creators. I'm like, oh dude, this is a lot, but taking my time and getting acclimated to the game. That was like really the thing was that first introduction actually was a stream. I was just really just trying it out. And I would say more or less, I was trying to take the approach of just entertainment. I really just wanted to have fun. I think being in, gacha gaming, and I'm pretty sure you understand with our niche, it's like audiences a lot of times, like if you only present one thing, that's kind of all they want to see from you. And it really is hard to branch into something and really just express yourself and have fun. And I think that's the era we're kind of entering in now because gacha games is very, very like, very, very, I would say kind of slow in terms of like quality and longevity. We don't have too many games lasting as long anymore. And that's one thing I think that is kind of even changing the audiences and what they want to see because now the cookie cutter and just like, hey, post this guide and, have, 180,000 people see it. People are like, okay, well, I can get that from anybody. What else you got?
Right.
So, that's just kind of what happened, I guess.
No, even so, for you to come in as one of the new faces, and as I mentioned, there was a lot of new people. I think you all definitely gave it like a breath of fresh air because in the case of AK for the past many months, a lot of the content has been very like I think it's something I mentioned to other content creators, but it's very gameplay oriented. You see lots of guides, you see lots of like, oh, it's just stage plays and everything. So there isn't so much of that personality that comes into the videos or entertainment. So when you came in, it's like people get that whole new vibe of, oh, this is something that's more reactionary, this is something that's more conversationalist, and people get to enjoy it so much more. So it's pandering to like maybe this need or want that viewers never had before, which is so nice to have you in.
I mean, dude, that's the thing that I think it's also too, I think in a way, and I feel like it's in every community, it also inspires everybody else to like, hey, add something else. Like that was my go-to. Was like, okay, you know, it was a few creators I had seen or reached out to, and I like seeing a lot of Arknights creators don't like to show their face, and I kind of understood like there's a level of like, you know, kind of like kind of opening yourself up. Like some people might be too shy, or you know, whatever it might be. But I do think that overall, it's kind of opening up the door of like, hey, I can do this with my content. You know, like I feel like overall, that's really what I at least feel like me coming in has helped with that aspect to just give more, like, honestly, the way I see it is the better content that we all can produce for the community, the better the community will be and the longer it'll last.
Yeah.
You know? Mm-hmm. So that's really what it ended up kind of really evolving to, was like, okay, like, let's just make this community fun. I just want to have fun. That's it. So
for sure. I think you are doing just that, just fine. And by the way, because you were streaming right before this in another channel, as you stated, do you manage to get yourself some food?
Yeah. Listen, man. Listen. I can't prepare. I can't prepare.
What is that? What is that?
This is chicken. My girlfriend actually got it for me. It's it's like chicken rice and chicken rice and chicken. Chicken chicken and broccoli, I guess, with rice. It's like a hibachi.
Is that
I guess.
Potato? That looks like potato.
No, it's a weird shaped potato looking chicken.
So there's two types of chicken in one.
Yeah. So this is American garbage, Asian cuisine. So trust me, I know this from. It's actually from like it's called like Japan Express. Like it's literally Americanized Japanese food. Like it's like I'm pretty sure nobody over there actually eats this crap, but like, hey, we love it. So
do the Americans keep associating Asian food with Express? Because I heard that the first time when I collabed with Viper, and he's like, "Oh, we have this thing called Panda Express." I'm like, "Panda Express? What's that?" Oh, he's like, "It's an Asian chain." And now I hear Japan Express.
Yeah.
So there's one of everything: Korean Express, Chinese Express as well for all the Asian.
Dude, it's so bad. It's so bad. And I mean, like the crazy thing is like, even like just like with anything, like I think that's the other thing too that influenced me with like Arknights is like how it's influenced a lot by, obviously it's made by a Chinese company.
Yep.
So that was something that like all through high school into college, like I started learning how to speak Chinese. It's my Chinese is pretty bad still, but like, you know, it was just another thing. Like I don't know how many people actually do it, but I play with the Chinese voice acting and people are like, whoa, this is weird. But I mean, I like it. So yeah, that was like one of those things that definitely like made me gravitate more towards the game too. Because it's really excellent overall for what it, I would say, displays for sure.
Yeah, you get a variety of everything, and soon enough, apart from the Chinese voices, there will be the English voices as well. So that will add so much more to the game when you can choose whatever that you want to listen to. I think for people who say that they're not used to it, it's just because maybe they played the game for long, then they've heard something for 2 years, so they're like, oh, it's so strange to hear a character different from usual. But I think if people
that's true.
Go to appreciate it, it'll be fine, because I mean, in my streams, in my videos, I have heard some people say, oh, I've tried some CN voice, you know, I say I'll give it a go, and they turn on certain characters with Chinese voices because they said they preferred them. So I think that's a nice little change that has gone within the game as well. Now, while you show your food...
what did you get?
Yeah, now those people who are watching the video, you all don't know, we delayed the call for about an hour because I messed up as well, where I bought food from this store. So this is called Long John Silver. It's a store that you will find mostly in Southeast Asia. And I got a very nice salmon porridge. So it's got a lot of nice little ingredients. Oh. It's got veggies. And I think the salmon are also done two ways. There's like a minced salmon and there's also the regular grilled salmon. Now, I haven't eaten this, so I'm trying it for the first time. I always buy this for my mom. Like, she loves porridge and I don't like porridge.
Oh, okay.
But then, you know what? I woke up this morning saying I feel like I would need to eat some kind of like nice, humble food. So I bought it. Now, I bought the order in bed. So the thing is that I could do what we call pickup orders. So we order something and we go to the store and we collect it.
Yeah.
Now, so I'm from Singapore, and there are usually many stores that have multiple outlets. So the thing is, when I woke up and I ordered, I just looked at the name of the store and then I clicked on order. So I went to the store near my place Then I went there and I said, this is my order number. And they're like, I didn't receive your order. Then I stared at my phone and I was like, what did I do wrong? Oh, no way, I ordered it. I see the store name, it's this one. And then, I ordered it like at another place that needed me to take a train to get to the place.
Oh, dude, that's so bad.
So I took a train to the place and then I came back and then that's how we delayed the call for a bit. And I think the porridge is a little cold, but it's fine. I think it will still taste good. I see that this is like some fried onion, so that will be nice to eat as well. So I'll mix it around and then I'll have a taste of it. How's your food?
It's okay, man. I mean, it's the daily garbage I'm used to, you know.
That's the daily. Okay, then what's a favorite food if otherwise?
Favorite food? Well, I like to cook. My girlfriend likes to cook too, so we usually cook like a lot of like pastas and stuff like that. So like
that is fun.
You know, like red sauces, stuff like that. Like, so like more home cooked stuff. I don't really eat out as much. But because I've been a lot busier lately, and I know people seeing this video, they're gonna be like, "Yo, where you been, Zox? I know I've been going off the channel for a week, but I'll be back. I promise. I didn't quit because it's just been really busy. And I'm even in that process of hiring editors right now. Like I actually hired an artist the other day. So that's a whole process. I feel like sometimes like people don't realize like how much we have to do to outsource as a creator to just produce one video. Like it's just one. And it's like, it's so bad because I'm getting into that process now. And like, you got to worry about timing, scheduling. Like it's so many factors for sure.
Well, were you in school before this? Like, what was the previous school that you were in?
So I don't know if in Singapore they call it the same, but I went to like high school, then I went to college.
Yep. College is university in here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, so you have college, university. So yeah, I went to a university actually. It was in my hometown. And I studied there for 2 years actually. I technically, and this is kind of a fun fact, I technically have one semester I need to finish. I haven't finished it yet.
Oh, but you managed to delay it.
Yeah, I literally have one semester I need to do. Reason why I stopped though, I actually at the time was when I was actually going to college, I was underage. So your parent has to file for your state assistance that you get, or the money the government pretty much gives you to help you with school. My mom had lost her password to her stuff. So I had to delay school. And instead I actually went and started working out in New York City. I started teaching dance. So that's actually my background is I'm a dancer. So YouTube really became more of a thing when COVID happened. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't work. Couldn't do anything. So I was like, well, might as well just get on YouTube and do some stuff. And that's pretty much from then till now. I've established the first channel, which is the one that has the Arknights on it. And then I have two other monetized channels. One is for a game that just came out. And the other one is for a game I was covering before, but now I don't do anything with it. So I got to figure out what I want to do with it though.
No, it's so surprising because when you said that you started YouTube from due to COVID and all, I also did the same thing. I had my whole backstory of starting YouTube. It wasn't YouTube first, it was Twitch. Because at that time, my friends and I were all saying like, oh, we got nothing better to do, so we should do something with our lives since we're stuck at home in lockdown. And I'm like, oh, okay, so what should we do? And they said, go streaming. Well, I was very hesitant on it. I said, no, I can't do streaming. What, do you think I'm someone who can entertain people? That's not me. But then they say, no, just give it a try. We'll do it together. And then, surprise, I stayed on. And I stuck through it because I realized that maybe I have a thing for streaming since people are still following up on whatever that I do, especially from the start to what it is now.
Yeah.
I mean, that also gives that curiosity of, for you, right? What made you say, because you may have tried YouTube for fun, and then was there something that made you suddenly say, maybe I'll just do this for long?
Well, I think for me is kind of the idea of like going into like, I was in business school, right? So really like really smart. My numbers, all that stuff, right? I could have easily excelled in that. I actually did excel. I was tutoring kids on campus. Like that was the kind of kid I was. Like I was always I had like 3 jobs. I really could have went into corporate America and probably did really well for myself. But I think it's kind of one of those things where you kind of realize like not every pathway is for everybody. I know at least here, I'm not really sure, and I can't really speak for everywhere else, but definitely here in the United States, school is pushed for everybody. And not to say that school is not a good thing, because I definitely do believe it does open up a lot of doorways, but it definitely depends on what you're trying to do. For things like business, you don't technically need a business degree to start a business, if that's fair to say. Like, it's like kind of sort of in a way, like if you want to work for corporate America, then sure, and you want to work for someone else. But if you want to work for yourself, you don't need that business degree. So for me, it was kind of like I realized I wasn't really happy in school. And what really made me happy was the other things I was doing, the dancing. When I had started doing YouTube, that made me happy. And it was just the level of, I say what really kind of kept me going was the fact that people liked what I was offering. I was able to be myself, like truly myself, you know? And not what people wanted me to be. So I think that's the thing that for me really made me want to do content creation. Because even now, if you look at my Arknights channel, like I'm honestly 100% being myself. Like I'm not like trying to pretend to be like, even my persona, like I guess that every creator has, is really like me. Like I was that kid cracking jokes, memeing. Like that's what me and my friends do. We shoot memes at each other all the time. So it's just kind of like, all I'm really doing is just taking myself and applying it to my content. And I think the more and more I'm doing content and the more that I've been able to establish myself, it's been a lot easier to be myself too. So yeah, that's pretty much that, I guess.
You know how long you've been doing content creation?
How long? Is this year makes 7 years.
That is... Wait. You know, COVID was 2 years ago. So when you said you tried content creation...
So I was doing it on and off, right? But I didn't really sit and do it until COVID happened. Like I always had a channel. So, okay, I was one of those creators that I was good at what I did, but I didn't realize how good I was because I didn't really care about it like that. So when I started doing YouTube, my very first video, I got like 40,000 views on it, right? And this is before the era of like, hey, YouTube is fun. Everybody, let's do it. I was in high school still. I said, that's okay. I don't really feel like doing this. And I went and did something else. I think it was like probably playing sports and stuff like that. So like, I always had the channel. I would upload here and there. I have a video freaking shoot to the moon. And then I would say, nah, I'm good. And not until COVID was it that I actually sat and I was like, okay, I want to be a YouTuber. Because I think if you upload here and there on YouTube, it doesn't really necessarily make you a YouTuber. You're just somebody that like just uploaded something. I feel like to call yourself a YouTuber, it really does require you to have that skill set and consistency more so of you uploading every day. You really hacking at building that audience, you know, going from that 1 to whatever number you're at now. Like, that's really what the essence of, I feel like, being a YouTuber and really a content creator, it requires, you know? And I think that process is not for the weak, right? A lot of people would have gotten discouraged, like, right? All I can think of is, what's his name? Mr. Rogers, so weak, right? That's like, it's all I can think about when I think about content creation. Like, that's literally what it is. Like, it takes you on average 5 to 7 years for most people, to get that 10K mark, you know, like, which is kind of like crazy, but like, some people get luckier and, you know, their consistency pays off sooner, and some it takes longer. For me, it took longer. So it's just kind of one of those, never really looking at anyone else's success and kind of, you know, gauging it next to my own. Like, I've always been very happy to see other people succeed. A lot of creators, just kind of to give, I guess, the backstory. I was creating the same time, Tectone. I'm not sure if you've heard of Vulcan, Volcano. There's a few. Vulcan Games. He covers a few games. I don't think he's ever touched Arknights, but he definitely like did like PGR, like different games like that. But those creators were actually smaller than me when I was like really getting into YouTube. Textone had less than 1,000 subscribers. I had 5,000 when he first started. He actually had, he was just like getting started actually. And watching this person just fly by me, like anybody like normally would have gotten discouraged, but I was like, hey man, like it was his time. So I just really think that's all it is. It's like when it's your time, you know? So yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing is and I really have stayed true to the saying of doing YouTube because I really enjoy it. Not because of the views, not because people are watching my videos, not to cause drama, because you'll see that happen occasionally where people are like, hey, let me like just start something so that people will look at me. And it's like, well, do you really want that? Because like now they're only going to see you as this negative thing. And that always ends up kind of, you know, having a stopping point for the most part. So yeah, I definitely think that, you know, it's pretty much that.
Well, it's good to hear that you're being honest to yourself when you do YouTube and that you're being you. That makes sure that, sorry, that was a burp, but that makes sure that you wouldn't have like any sort of risk. You know, when you say that people go on a more negative line in order to do their YouTube channel, it works. Somehow people get entertained by that. It's really odd why we behave this way, that such videos gets to us. But as much as it works, it's not going to work for forever. It's painful. You live full of dread, and you might even develop a lot of problems when you look back at it. So
yeah, that's very true.
It's good that you go along this positive line of things. Now, considering that you have just started AK, right? How will you describe to someone your experience of playing AK just in this month?
I would say the one thing, and I kind of talked about this in my streams too, is with Arknights, it's kind of one of those games that can be discouraging if you're if you're by yourself playing it, like, because it seems like it's a lot to tackle at first. But I think that's kind of one of the things is that what I always like kind of tell people is like, hey, if you want to try out Arknights, make sure you're in a community. Like, make sure you like, you know, are invested in like, you know, just being in a group of people that are collectively playing it, because I feel like that makes the experience that much better. I think what Arknights offers that a lot of games don't offer is a actual experience. Because of the style of game, the type of game it is, it gives you the opportunity, a really unique opportunity to jump into a game, not just because of like, oh, it has like the best gameplay ever, right? You're like, you know, you don't see like people flying around with like 3D enhanced graphics all day. Like, you know, you got chibi characters, you're playing your tower defense, and they have some really cool, you know, 2D art or live 2D art, you know, depending on if they're limited or whatever it might be. So there's so many other aspects that shine. And it's really just taking the time to kind of, I would say, be more invested in that. And I think like with the level of patience that most gacha gamers have, it's really hard for them to get into something without there being someone for them to go on the journey with. I know I got a lot of newer players to come into it with me because they're going through the process with me. I even got a whole bunch of other content creators that was like, hey man, I'm gonna get on Arknights because you're having fun. And I'm like, well, the thing is that with Arknights, I'm making Arknights fun for me. Like, right. I can't really say for everybody's experience because maybe by themselves they're like, oh man, like I don't know about this. But for me, Arknights is fun. You know, I could be getting my behind whooped by a freaking tank. I had no idea it was going to be doing certain things or whatever. Like, that's also kind of the reason why I kind of stayed away from the guides. Not because I don't think they're good, because it's kind of ironic. I think the only guide I've actually watched from you, and it was like I had to, was your base guide, which was good, by the way. I want to let you know that it was very good. Yes, it was a part of one of your, I think it might have been like your beginner guide. It was like a section in it that was just for the base.
I said how to build the base. I said like do it, maybe this formation. I didn't elaborate though.
Yeah.
It was very brief.
No, you didn't, but it helped though, because you also dropped the link to like, I think it was like something, right? Yeah. Like, no, trust me. That still helped me because I was sitting over there, like I literally the last month, that's all I've worked on. Like, people are like, hey, you haven't E2'd anything? You haven't done... I'm like, listen, I got to get my base together.
Right. No, you know your stuff. I need
to get my base together. So that's the other thing too. I think with like enjoying the process. This is the first game I've ever played where I've actually been able to like not feel the need to rush. And I'm assuming it probably could have felt different in the beginning. Like, you know, when it's like, hey, you got to get this guide out, you know, everybody's dropping their guides, but I'm not a guide maker. So like, for me, it's really about the experience and really honestly, like truly just enjoying the story. Cause, you know, my personal goal at this point, I got to become an English voice actor for Arknights, you know, that's the goal. That's the goal here. We're trying.
That's a big goal. Well, no, I love that goal because I mean, you're not the only one who actually told me that you wish to work for a certain company. I could tease it because you're in the line of the episodes. You're my fourth guest already. So before you, I got to speak to a fan-made music producer. So he makes like fan-made songs, and he had the same goal as you. He was like, "I want to make a song for Arknights. You know, wouldn't it be so cool if they see my work in there?" But I love it that all of you have that sort of passion that you guys want a certain involvement for the game as well to see it grow to be even bigger. No, and I decided to write on my phone. I think that I should make this a habit because you actually raised so many important points. Isn't it interesting to see that when you stated community is an emphasis, you know, you should get people to go with to play the game together with.
Yeah,
there is this sort of culture in a PvE game, a game where you only play on your own, and yet you have that ability to play with your friends, the ability to feel like there are other people playing with you. I think that's something that's so odd because people would think you only get that in PvP. Maybe you when you have a co-op game, you have a competitive game, that's when you get to meet people. But then AK comes around and say, you don't need that. You can just get all of that just by playing on your own. As long as there are good people building up the community, the base, everyone can enjoy it as well. So those is like one of the crazy stuff that I find. I'm so impressed by AK day by day. For the fact that I played this for so long, and I've often stated this in videos and whatsoever, I would have left games really early. I have a short attention span. Like, I cannot stick in games for long. I'll get disinterested within a month, 3 months at best, nothing beyond that. And AK comes in and say, well, I've been playing this for 2.5 years, and somehow I'm still liking it for what it is. So I think the community is amazing for what it's given to us.
It definitely is. It definitely is. I think that's, like I said, that's the thing that actually kept me, I would say, involved, wanting to be involved, wanting to be a part of, wanting to like, dude, the hypest experience for me, and I have not had this hype of an experience like ever, was the 3rd anniversary for CN.
Oh, when you watched it with your
that was like the coolest thing. Like, I didn't understand anything that was being said, but it's fine because the energy was just like is one of those like surreal things because for me, it's cool to see how the CN and the global communities are actually pretty tight knit. Like, people like still support each other in each respective community, and it doesn't really happen that often. Usually, there's always like some type of fight or qualms. Like, I mean, you look at games like Epic 7, KR, and Global are always fighting with each other. You got yes, all the time. Like, it just doesn't even make sense. A lot of games are like that. Like, there's always this like this like button heads, and it's really cool to see a community that no matter what side you're on, it's like people support each other. So it's like CN gets like the first look at the stuff, so everybody's hyped because we're hyped like on global side, like, hey, we're about to get this soon, you know, or at some point soon, right? And then it's like even cooler to see that, okay, CN has already experienced it, but they still come to the global stuff to hype and cheer us on as we experience it. And I've never seen a community ever do that. I've never been in a community that's ever done that.
You know, there's a misconception that people have when they compare CN and global community. It's a slight bit of a problem, so you might not be too aware, but there are some global players who would have a certain resentment towards CN because they think that, oh, CN are like the good stuff, you know, they get all the things before us, why are we like left behind, and all that kind of thing. So they feel like it could be this situation where the CN players may see themselves as bigger characters, but I feel like many people are basing it off of assumptions. They don't speak to these players, so they straight up assume, oh, because they have this means they are like this, which is quite baseless. When in fact, right, actually one of the things that people may not be aware is there are definitely a lot of CN players who wish that our timelines of the two games were aligned. So for such players, their reasoning is that they kind of wish when it comes to celebrations or even setting records in the game, because there are some people who really care about playing the game in a certain way. Maybe they want to do it with as few characters as possible. They want to do it with certain styles, like playing with a singular class, that kind of thing. They love this friendly competition. And actually for a lot of them, they were stating that they wish that Global have the same experience. They want Global players to be a part of it and also enjoy, and including the JP as well. But it's a bit unfortunate that the way that the game has evolved has made it such that it's very difficult to bring the two timelines together, because the game in CN is updating really quickly, and it's, if you try to map it out, it's kind of like virtually impossible for the current other servers to catch up. So we end up having always this 6 months lead. It frustrates players, but at the same time, there are also players who say, no, I don't give a damn, I can prepare. That's what I want. Can you imagine preparing in a gacha game? Yeah, that's the kind of life that I need. So it's a give and take. Some people like it, some people don't like it, but I think it's interesting that you also put forth the difference of the multiple communities. There is going to be a chance for me to speak to some people in the CN and JP community soon. So I also wonder what they think about it. Yeah, in the coming Hangout episodes.
That's like, and I think that's the other thing too. And I think that these types of conversations are good to have because, like you said, it's giving opportunity to give everybody the chance to speak from their perspective or their side. I know for me, I feel like I stand on a pretty neutral standpoint because I don't really have the same attachment some veteran players might have on that issue. I will say overall though, my thing is that I'm the kind of person where I'm like the guy that's like, hey, why can't we all get along? Because honestly, I that's just how I am. I don't really like looking at things in that way, because of the fact that even when we're looking at what a lot of people like on the global side, to what you said, that foresight aspect is honestly a lot of people won't even play a game because they're like, oh, I don't know what's coming, 6 months ahead.
Right.
So they'll skip out on stuff because they don't have that foresight. And that's one thing that I can say within, the culture of Arknights. I feel like for me, the way I at least perceive it is I kind of appreciate the facts that the CM players are okay with being so much further ahead, because there is a catch-22 to that. Obviously, sure, yeah, they get content first, but there's also that aspect of okay, they have to go through this process and they're honestly helping figure stuff out so that when global players get to those points or anyone else gets to that point, they kind of already know what they want to aim for. You could save so much more currency. Overall, it ends up kind of being better for global because of that. And that's kind of one of the things for CN players. It's I know people might look at it oh, they spend a lot. And it's well, they kind of don't really have a choice, because when stuff comes, it's they either experience what it is or they miss out on it. Whereas for us, when we get to see, certain players or creators even doing these max builds and using them or, figuring out, testing the units out, it makes it to where other players have the opportunity to actually get more bang for their buck, save more, I would say actually kind of going through that process a lot more simpler than the CM players. So I think it's just a level of consideration that both sides just has to have. And I really do think that really, honestly, it's a problem that's not really a problem. It's just that breaking those barriers for the most part to talk to each other, I guess.
With what you stated, right, you actually made me have it's a revelation. I mean, I probably know this, but it's at the back of my head, and then all of a sudden you made me recall this, that now that you've mentioned this 6 months lead, I start to see there's actually a lot more positives in it. If there are players who are free to play, because there's a lot who are insistent on not wanting to pay the game, they don't have a lot of money, maybe financial situations don't allow them. So the fact that global always allows them to prepare, that's what makes the free-to-play experience a lot better, because they get to know what's coming up, they know what to say. If they were a CN player and we had the same timeline, as a free-to-play player, you're always panicking, because should I just do it now? And then I saved all my currency and the next one comes up with this. So wouldn't that be a disaster, because I've done all this hard work and then maybe they quit the game because they didn't get what they want. So that's an interesting point that you put. And then another thing that I feel is that with that foresight, it honestly allows the experience in global to be a lot more chill. We get to relax because we don't have to panic we know what's coming, and we can either prepare, whether it's for pools, whether some people want a panic build and they say, oh, maybe I need this and that, or later on. So if people are a CN player, however, without ever knowing what's coming up next, they will be afraid. Are they going to release the hardest shit in the game right after this? Are they going to make me go crazy during my exam period? Like, if people can map out and maybe even plan a whole timeline. I would... Now, this is just a random bet, but there's probably one player at least out there who probably planned his entire lifetime table out of AK's events. They're like, okay, I'm going to help my school with this program, but I know that an event is going to arrive around here, so I'm going to make sure that I don't make it coincide. That sort of thing. I can imagine that happens.
Yeah, I bet it is. No, but that's the thing too. It's like, no, man, that's the other part. Like, for me, even with the content creation, I'll say this is probably one of the first communities I've been able to like step in as late as I stepped in, and I've been able to like interact with other creators like within that realm already creating. And a lot of them are CN players, some are global, but I also noticed too. Because I kind of started to segment on my channel where I would react to certain plays and stuff like that, because I'm like 2 years behind everybody. So everything is just amazing to me at this point. But it's really amazing to me. I'm like, there's certain creators that I've seen and like I'm like looking at their content. I'm like, holy crap, like they're actually pretty good. Like they're doing like different kinds of different styles of running the game. And then it would be a video like with 1,000 views or something like that. And I was like, okay, what can I do to like contribute to the community? So I started like kind of reacting to people's stuff, getting permission, reacting to certain things, and then putting them up to say like, hey, like I'm garbage, but this is amazing, so it's like, it's just kind of like one of those things that I think that's another thing that like people really like to see, is because now it's kind of like, and it really does go to show too that content creation really isn't as dog eat doggy as people try to make it seem. It's all really in how we support each other. And the more that we support each other, the more people are going to want to be involved, and they're going to want to support everything that's going on Arknights related. Because I think people have this weird mentality where they think that a viewer only watches one of the creators. Like they think like, oh, this person only can be watching me. And it's like 90% sure this person's probably watching like 30 Arknights creators or 30 creators in general. There will be. So it's just kind of like one of those things, like if you know you're good at what you do, there's no reason for you to block anybody off from anything at that point, right? And yeah, that's like one of the things that I've like kind of been looking at in terms of like just kind of the merging and like being immersed in the community on not only the CN side, but also the global side, and just kind of getting that interaction from both sides, which usually doesn't happen. Usually one side or the other is gatekeeping each other from like something.
Oh yeah, like, it happens.
Yeah.
But over here, we don't gatekeep. I think, I also think it's also for the fact that there's no PvP elements that doesn't make people feel that sort of pressure, since it's really your own experience, this game. When you stated just now that you play for your own fun, you don't watch guides, I fully support that. I think that's the way that people should be playing, because even though I make guides a lot, but I do that only for the sake of new players. Like, my expectation is that at a certain point, people should graduate. People should not use guides anymore. They should just rely at the start, and then after that, they should play the game for themselves. Because for the fact that this is PvE, so this is your own personal thing, it's best that you play for what you want. You shouldn't be playing based on what another creator says. You should do this, you should pull that, and whatsoever. Like whenever... So this is a very constant thing that's happening on my stream nowadays, where if people were to ask me, what should I build? Who should I build? What should I pull? I'll just tell them, do anything. There's nothing in this game that stops you. It's not like you need this person, you need that person. If you want it, get it. Because you are happiest when you want something. If you do something based on what other people say, you're not going to have a game that feels like it's yours. I think from the start of AK, right, there's a lot of mentality that was perpetuated in the past, where it's like what you said, there might be that feeling of needing to rush at the start, maybe because the game just began. At that point in time, a lot of people are thinking this is another gacha game. You gotta build this character, you gotta get certain people. But for all these players who, like myself, may have played for 2 years, we start to realize wait, if we look back, we didn't really need to do a lot of these things. This game is very relaxing. You do whatever that you want. I love to tell people that if there's a genre that this AK game should be, like people say it's tower defense, it's strategy, maybe it's RPG. I'll tell them this is a sandbox game. This is like a game that you get to do anything at all. You can say this is a choose your own adventure game. Because yes, you get management stuff, you need to manage your resources and everything. But if you do that well, you build what you want, that experience is so personal to you. And that's what makes you like feel very attached to the game. I feel like if I do this in other games, I would have a problem because of the mentality that goes around in certain communities. As oftentimes I get asked like why don't I play Genshin, for example, which I do love Genshin, but the trouble that I also find within the place is that they have a lot of pushing that you need certain things to be done, and it gets draining. When it's like if everybody conforms to one way to play a game, then where's the uniqueness? What's the game? If everybody is just following a solution. So that's like my greatest fond appreciation to Arknights. For the fact that you've played AK for so long, just within this month, and you've done like some reaction to the story, how would you describe the story, or how do you find the story of Arknights?
And I say in my legendary words, the story slaps. Oh,
that's a big compliment.
Yeah, the story slaps, man. Like it really does, because like one of the things that, and it was kind of funny because I was doing a live stream probably about a week ago, and I've been doing like lore streams where I actually like I've been reading from the beginning. Like I'll skip in streams. I kind of give myself objectives with each stream. I'll be doing one thing. I don't try to overload myself with everything because I really want each part of the game for me to give it its full deserved attention. So we have lore streams, and one of the things was like I was like, okay, I'll just VA everything. Like I don't know what characters sound like. I haven't heard, and I really don't remember like half of the characters' actual like in-game voices. So it's just kind of like fun because it's like make up your own voice and read the lines, right?
Right.
But it's like when you really get into Arknights' story and you realize like the actual correlations, and you're like, whoa, this story's kind of effed up. Like it's like it's like this is kind of dark. Like and it's like again, that goes into that whole like really being patient enough to really invest yourself in the world of Arknights and not just looking at it as like, oh, it offers like this style of gameplay, like seeing that the story itself is a part of the content, and that's kind of one of those things that I feel like overall gaming has strayed away from. I remember playing a lot of games prior to mobile because of the story. Some of my favorite games, God of War, Gears of War, Halo, all of those games, it was like the gameplay was amazing, but it really tied you into wanting to continue on that series, and why they're still making those games today is because of the story. Right. So for me, it's like, one, I get to act out the characters, and that's just fun because the character, like I kind of get a feel for how they're speaking and give them a voice. And so far, people like the voices. I guess I've been doing something right, I guess. But it's just one of those things like, even with that, even if someone else was to do a lore stream and do it in their own perspective, it still offers another level of like entertainment. And just like a lot of the older players, at least for me, have been saying like, because the game's not voice acted for the story, it's like, and they're like, they're so much further in the game now, being able to go back and kind of reliving the story and then having like voice acting and just somebody kind of read it, they're just like, whoa, like this is actually pretty interesting. Like I'm actually able to enjoy it a lot more because not everybody's really gonna read. Like I'm not gonna lie, I normally wouldn't read, but because I'm actually like doing it and like acting it out, it's like totally different than just like being in a room by yourself and reading it. Which I guess it all depends on your fancy and what you like, but that aspect of what they bring to the table, the different various character personalities, and then just like I said, how effed up the story is. Like it's so messed up. So I've just been enjoying that, and then trying not to spoil myself because I swear I get on Twitter and people just posting, especially when stuff came out on CN for the last chapter that just came out. Right. I was like, oh God, I'm gonna already know what happens, but I'm not even halfway there yet. So
I didn't get you're good. I didn't get to read story all that much because I don't have the time. I didn't get to read it, so I'm missing out on certain appreciation. But I do recall there are 2 stories in particular in the game that I have read, and I did the same thing as you. I read it on stream, so it gives a whole different thing. It makes you feel a little bit more purposeful that you're doing it with everybody else who's watching you. Yeah. Right? And everyone's reading a storybook together instead of you just privately in the room, as you say. The 2 stories that I read were Children of Ursus and the other one is, I don't recall. Originum Das, the Rainbow Six event. So, the Rainbow Six event, I chose to read that one because I was like, it's unimaginable that a collab event will have a story. So you might have missed out on that because you've just came in, but the event was very elaborately made. The stages, even the enemies that they are inspired by, it was very inspired from Rainbow Six Extraction, one of the new game titles that they just released. So, and to see Rainbow Six characters that, because I play Rainbow Six, so to see them in the game, and then suddenly they're giving a whole story to explain why they came to Arknights, and how it wasn't just oh hi, we're here, but yet at the same time they were actually doing trying their best to get home, and at the same time they've meddled into problems where they encountered people they shouldn't have. It was a very special feeling to see, wow, so much effort was put on the side of AK when, by the way, Rainbow Six received nothing. Like, they had no cosmetics or anything that is AK related. So it was a whole one-sided event where only Rainbow Six characters came in. But yet, Hyperglyph did so much work to put a good storyline and to make you feel just so attached to the characters. Yeah. I'm deeply amazed. I think just a trouble that AK seems to have when it comes to story is because the words are really long. It takes long to read, and not everybody likes visual novels. So, one of the stresses, I think, is AK needs to find a way for people to be able to read the story more easily, which can be things like voice acting. But I can also see why they don't do it, because it's expensive. If they had to go back and go from the first episode and all the way to the chapter 10, and they voice every single event, I think they'll go crazy. Like, how much funding do they have to give to every single different voice actors, and like the NPC voices as well? Like,
yeah, they could just hire me. They can hire me for free. I do all of them anyway.
Oh my goodness.
They can hire me for free. I do them all anyway. So, hey, Hyperglyph, I know you're probably not listening, but like, just let you know. I mean, I can do them for free. Yeah, but I mean, that's definitely very true, though. I think that's like one of the things that I think that's the key part. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I'm actually learning English reading in Arknights because like there's so many words that have come up, and like it's funny because I have made this an entire family affair. Like sometimes, literally my last stream I did for Lord, my girlfriend, I made her read with me. And she has a much better, I would say, a much more well-versed vernacular than I do. So I had her reading stuff, and I'd get stuck on a word. I'm like, whoa, and she'll tell me, and then I'm like, okay, cool. But I'm like, I have moments where I'm just like, really, Hyperglyph? Like, why? Why are we doing this? Like, English speakers are garbage at English, and you're just gonna give us some of the hardest words ever. Like, so it's just like one of those things, though. I will say I do have a deeper appreciation because, I mean, one of the things I can say, like, honestly, is Arknights is making me read more. I don't normally read, and reading the story, it's like, okay, cool, like you're getting this story, but I'm actually reading, and that's in a way, I won't say it's lost, but the average person, at least where I'm at, does not read. Like, right. If you read a billboard or a stop sign, you get lucky. But like, they're not going to be like reading books. You're not going to see people outside reading a book. Like, people probably don't have books in their homes anymore. So like, unless it's for school, And those books literally is for when they're using them and then they go in the trash or they forget about them. So Arknights offers, like I said, a lot more just even to the mental than it might just kind of seem just outside of it being a game. Like there's hours and hours and hours worth of story, which is just like, instead of me reading a book, I could just read Arknights. So
you will. You spend a long time.
Yeah, so that's what I've been enjoying about it for sure.
It's funny that you say that, because now it feels like AK can fill another genre of games. Like it can be an educational game now at this rate, which I think it works. No, it really does work.
You might need to patent that first before you give them free ideas, because that might be like $1 million idea, and they're just gonna say, you know what, Cookie had a really good idea, and then you see an Arknights children's book pop up. Just know you're the one that said that, okay?
No, so this is a funny story that happened. I'm not sure if the viewer will watch this video, but there was a father who came to watch my stream. So he said that, oh, my kid play Arknights. Then I was like, oh, okay, how old's your kid? And he's like, my kid's 12 years old. Then I said, oh, you're making a 12-year-old play like this gacha game and all that kind of thing? He said, oh, I totally don't mind it. Because of all games that I've seen, this game has been a great game. And I said, why do you say that? Apparently his kid got to play because he encountered my video. Then he was like, oh, this looks like a cool game. Then he started playing on his phone. Then his dad was like watching. So he's like that protective parent, where he didn't want his kids to play game and all that much. But then he said, oh, AK is really nice at the fact that it doesn't make a player feel like the company is greedy about any sort of things. Like, I think this is an interesting thing about the UI that people don't mention. If you go to other games and when they have in-game purchases and whatsoever, you'll see them splash it big and white on the front screen. And then even when you enter the store, that's the first thing you see. But in AK, it's not that. When you enter the store, the first thing you see is the skins. They're like, yo, new skins to buy. You want to buy this? And then the packs are like right below. So he kind of mentioned to me as to how it's not a very, as much as a gacha game, it's not as predatory as other games. That's one of the interesting things. And yet at the same time, he also says that for his son, he feels like his son is learning a lot more from just playing this game. It's like exactly what you say to read the story. Now, I'm from Singapore, so English is one of the main language here, and we're generally well versed. And then you're from the US, but there are people from other global countries as well, and some of them have other main speaking languages. Whether if they're from Europe, they're from other of the Southeast Asian countries. So I feel that for those people who are reading, they also get to learn more, just from picking up this game. Once they read, they search up the dictionary, they understand a word, they're like, whoa, I am improving my command of this language that I'm learning. So, well, we wouldn't need to classify AK as an educational game in there, but it sure feels like one. Like, it's so strange that this game can be everything at this rate.
At this, that is.
Yeah. Are you aware of this thing called integrated strategies? You might have heard of it from your viewers.
Yes, I have. I don't think it's been in the game since I've been playing.
Not yet.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I don't think it's there yet. But people have brought it up for sure.
So I think that is one of the interesting ones where, for you who have not experienced it, and you will soon experience it, because at the time of filming, this is 12 May. In 2 months from now, we are gonna get that game mode. It's gonna be a permanent game mode, and I have that assurance that knowing you better from here, you're gonna have a wild time. You might just get glued to the game forever at this rate, because it's one of the most amazing game modes to come from a tower defense. No one see this coming, and I think it was the most genius idea that AK had. So, have you heard anyone describe it to you?
I feel like didn't they mention this in the CN anniversary?
Very briefly though.
Very briefly, yeah. I think that was one of those moments I didn't know what was going on. So,
sure. So, do you play roguelike games?
Roguelike, yes.
So roguelike games are the idea where you play on, the longer you progress in the stages, you get maybe more items, you get maybe more like boost and everything. So same thing. Yeah. This integrated strategies is a mode where you can't exactly pick the start of your game. So you are forced to choose 3 characters, which they will select at random which 3 classes you pick from. So for example, they'll say, oh, please choose a vanguard, a guard, and sniper. And then you're fixed. So they'll pick it within whoever you build. And then you get to choose within those class. As you progress in the stage, you'll get like recruitment tickets. So you can get more people in your squad. So you actually start the round with 3 people. And then eventually you'll get more. And each time when you complete a level as well, you'll get like within the game mode, you'll get currency. And you might have a chance to get artifacts. So the artifacts will boost your characters. They'll make it stronger. And stronger and stronger. And then there is also a shop within the game mode where with that currency that you get, you upgrade your characters. You give them even more boost. So it's what we consider as the endless mode of Arknights. And that is a very interesting game mode that you will see soon. And it will be very different from whatever you've played in AK. Now, the reason why I mentioned about integrated strategies is that that's one permanent game mode. There's another permanent game mode that's coming out. So you may have saw this in the CN anniversary live stream. And maybe you weren't too clear about it, but it was the one where they had like a deck of cards, and then they put an operator over another person's head, and then you're like, what the heck is going on? So in short, it's a trading card game mode where you can build a deck, and then you can draw the deck, and you can put your operators there, and for whatever reason, if you put an operator on top of another, they will inherit certain traits, and then they'll get stronger. So it's like a deck building game. And then same idea, if your deck runs out, they will take from the dead pile, and then they will reshuffle the whole thing. Like AK has so much innovation in the things that they do. They are about to fill every genre you can imagine, except RPG though. They can't fill action RPG. That's why Enfield exists.
Honestly, I think just from that alone, that's like, and I think that's the reason why they're able to be a full-fledged PvE game and still be able to pull in the numbers they're able to. And it's because you got to think about like every game that's kind of blown up, and it's games that offer something you cannot get from another game.
Right.
There's no other game that you can play that's going to make you feel like Arknights and get the same experience, the styles of game modes. Like, yeah, sure, you can play a tower defense, or you're going to play a tower defense with your favorite waifus in there, or husbandos, whatever it might be. Like, you're just not going to find that normally. And that's what I kind of notice about most games that tend to do well, even if they might have a rocky start, is how unique is that game? Like, how different is it? Is there something that people can fall back on? And it's like, if somebody leaves Arknights, it's like, what other game are they going to play if they want to find something similar?
Wow, that is so
like,
true.
Like, I don't know. So
I'd be missing out if I'm out of here. Like, there's so many things that I would never get to experience. So that's the wonderful stuff about AK. Now, just this is a bit of a major question. If there's something that you put forth, is there an aspect of the game that you really like, or is there an aspect that you don't like?
Okay, so aspect I really like. I think the aspect I like the most is, and it's kind of weird because I've seen both sides of the coins with this topic, is the fact that you can utilize any character to do anything. Some people don't like that, which is kind of weird. I'm like, well,
why do they not like that?
Well, I've heard people say like they don't like it because they're like, oh, you know, I feel like it devalues the higher rarity. But I feel like like it's weird, right? Yeah, like I've never really, I still don't understand it myself, but I've had people literally say that, like, oh, I don't want to play this game because I feel like they're making it to where 3 stars, and I feel like these might be people spending money or might be whaling or something. I don't know, but like they feel like it devalues the higher rarity units because you can just do stuff with a lower rarity. So they kind of like, why would I go for the higher rarity? Part of that I feel like is 2 things. One, they probably haven't really played the game that much. And then 2, they don't understand that what makes the game so good is that. Like, I feel like that's the part for me that made it enjoyable. Like, for the longest time, I had Exaya and Myrtle, right?
Right.
They're obviously very, very good units. But it took me a while to actually use them because I was like, I don't really feel like using them. everybody's like, build them. You have to. Those are the best units ever. You literally have God tier units in your account and you're not going to use them. And I was like, nah, not really. I'd just rather build my Texas, like, so it was just like stuff like that like you don't usually have that kind of liberty in a lot of games. Like most games kind of set you up and they're like, you have to use this in the early game. You have to kind of migrate into this in the mid game, and you have to do this in end game. And it's just kind of that hardcore meta, and just being able to see like there's almost infinite ways you can clear content in this game. Is kind of insane. Like that to me, I have not seen a game, even if it is just PvE, be able to pull off, hey, you can literally like, you can, the 1P relays, dude, are like literally like the most amazing thing to me. Like granted, they're invested units, but the fact is one unit on the field at a time doing something and getting, redeployed, deployed back, like whatever it might be, like that is just the sickest thing ever. And it's like, okay, that's one way people are able to play this game, right? And I'd say in terms of like things I dislike or a thing I dislike, I don't know. I don't think I really honestly have not found a thing I've disliked about. I mean, the only thing I think I can say I dislike is the new vocabulary when I'm reading story. But like, that's just a me problem at that point. It's like get good at reading, But that's about it. But yeah, outside of that, I mean, Arknights, I really honestly. And that's one of the things I can say that I've been really happy to see is like seeing even some of my peers that I've come from different genres of gaming in the mobile realm now playing Arknights. Like, and they're like, bro, this game is actually really fun. And I'm like, see, it is, right? So it's just like one of those things where for me, I think it's like if you have a problem with Arknights, it has to be something like super, super like, it's like one of those points where it's like, I guess I can see where you're coming from, but is it really that big of a deal type of thing? Because only thing I can see people maybe saying things about is spending, but like I haven't seen one person say to me like, you have to well for this. You need to spend. This is the only community I've actually been in where people have said it's bad for you to spend. You should not spend at all, actually. Like I've had people say that to me and I'm like, well, obviously I'm going to spend because I well on everything anyway. But so far, since I've been back playing, I haven't spent until this neural altered banner.
That's
and that was just for I wasn't going to miss out on the unit too, because I was like, I'm kind of a sweat. I was like, Neural was my favorite character coming back into the game. So I was like, I gotta get the other form of her. But it was just nice to, I will say this, it was nice to spend and not feeling like I had to. Like I actually wanted to spend. So that to me was like very, very different, because even in my content process, it's like, oh man, like I had to spend so I can build this new unit, so I could do X, Y, and Z. Whereas like I felt like I actually wanted to buy the unit. Like if I had to go 300 all the way to pity, I would have been actually okay with that. Granted, that would have sucked because my luck would have sucked, but hey, I don't think I would have been as upset as I would have been in like other games where I'm not sure if you ever heard this game. It's called Last Cloudier, for example. I actually have that. That's one game I have up on my channel. Same company, I think, that had ties with Brave Frontier, if you're familiar with that. That's one game that every time a new unit comes out, it's like you gotta get it. You get another unit comes out, you gotta get it. So that's the kind of gacha culture I came from and creating on that. And it's like, hundreds to even thousands of dollars per banner. And it's like, that gets draining after a while. So it's really nice to say like, okay, you can skip these banners, you can save, and then these limited banners come up, or this event comes up, you get all these really good resources. And then if you really want to spend, you got some good packs up and, this really valuable unit, right? So I don't think I dislike anything about this, about Arknights yet.
That's
at least
really
yet.
Interesting. It could be a yet thing. Maybe eventually you'll find some quells with it. But when you mentioned just now about the people saying, so there's a few things. One is you stated people saying don't spend, and another one is people saying they don't like the game because they feel like they values high rarity. I think it could be true that these people didn't play, or some of them legitimately did. But I feel like it's a bit of a reverse psychology that they've implanted in themselves to say that it devalues the high rarity. So I don't think it devalues the high rarity. I think what Arknights did was that it changed the meaning of a high rarity. So they made the game in a way where now this is a very interesting thing. In one of the interviews that was done together with the head producer that you saw in the 3rd anniversary, so it was Low Light or Haimao, is the guy that pulled the all. Now, we got interviewed, and one of the questions that was asked is, how do you balance the stages in Arknights? So his answer was that for all the stage and level designers, they will always use characters that are only obtainable for free to play. So if a character gets it at, like, maybe in the story chapters, they will test that with that. If there's a welfare unit that's released, they will test it with that welfare unit. So they've made the stages in such a way where, as far as possible, even with the lowest of requirement, it is still possible. But of course, it doesn't feel that way, because sometimes when people play maybe the harder stages, they're like, no, how can a low rarity do this? I'm even struggling with my 6 stars and everything. I think those players who say it devalues high rarity, they haven't reached there yet. They haven't reached the point where they say, maybe it'll be sweet if I have a strong unit. But I think when I say that they changed the meaning of a high rarity, what I mean by that is that while the game is clearable with low rarity, people should see that what high rarity does in this game is that it's not a need. All it does is that it makes the game easier. So if you're someone who don't like to think a lot, you don't want to strategize, with a high rarity, you can lower that pressure. That's what the game offers. But if you don't have a high rarity, it's not the end of the world. You just have to work a little bit harder, think a little bit harder about the units that you use, but yet you can still do it. And even just now when you said like you've watched amazing plays on the CN community and everything, you might have missed out on a particular style or genre. It's one of the most amazing gameplay I've always seen in AK. There are people who will play, say, the hardest stages ever in the game. And what they do is that they will play this level with all the characters, so all 12 people or 13 people in their squad, at Elite 0, Level 1.
Okay, Level 1 I haven't seen. I've seen E0 though, but Level 1?
Yeah.
That, I don't know.
It's wow. It's wow to see someone use like absolutely zero build, and yet for stages that people struggle for hours, a man just comes in and say, well, I'm gonna show you how I do this without even building anyone. It's impressive. That's actually crazy. I've seen the E0, but I think the units were leveled. But level 1, dude, I don't know. But like that is like, I don't know, because I feel like the level scaling goes so high, and it's like, I would think your units would be getting like 1 tap, but hey, they got to be good then. I mean, they got to be good. And it's like you can't put anything past anyone in Arknights, because half of the stuff that I've seen, I was like, initially was like, nah, that's not possible. No way. And then watching it, I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like, I think it was like Magallan, I think her name is, or one of the summoners.
Yeah, I've seen people do like literally like one player runs with her, for example, like where they're just like be an entire stage with just this one unit. And I'm just like, okay. While I'm over here struggling with my Neon, and I have Ixaya, I got Myrtle, and I'm just sitting here like, oh man, I just obviously am not using enough of my brain. So like that's just the case though. And that really goes to what you were saying, is just like a lot of what makes Arknights and just even to the aspects of the rarities really is just that aspect. It's just how much of your brain do you have to use. And I think that might be the thing too. I really do think that might be the thing, because even to what I said before about the person saying like it devalued it, I like had this whole like kind of disagreement. It really wasn't an argument. And this was in like one of my live streams. Like, I hate games that do this. Like, and I was like, why? Like, this is like the best thing ever. Cause I'm like, I feel like we've been so, I'll say, accustomed to games that make it all about the high rarities.
Right.
They're like, if you don't have the 6-star, they don't have, they have much higher base stats. They always have the better skills. They end up being like good in, early game, end game, or mid game and end game, to the point that you never really even like take the time to want to even invest in those lower rarities. Whereas like seeing people doing things where they're only clearing things with lower rarities, it's like, that just goes to kind of emphasize how well made the game is. I feel like it's easier to say, hey, let's make a whole bunch of 6-stars and they all have busted skills and throw them into a game than it is to make balanced out units that even low rarities can still clear content that, like you said, it would be much easier to just utilize a 6-star or higher rarity unit for. So that, again, just goes into the idea that Hypergriff actually pays attention. They put a lot of effort into what they're doing, because not a lot of companies do that, for sure.
Right. Yeah, and when now that I think about it, for the person who's saying that the argument is that he values the high rarities, and if he's playing a game that he prefers that he values the higher rarities, then what happens is the reverse happens, right? The lower rarities get devalued, and no one wants them. No one will build them.
Yep.
No one
That's
cares
exactly
about them. So I think he doesn't seem to understand the appreciation that AK isn't all about the strength. They appreciate the fact that they're great build. They have good characters, good storyline, and you're not gonna feel at a loss for building the characters you want. At the end of the day, all it takes is, this character could be weaker than a 6-star, for example, if this character was a 5-star. But if you learn them well, you pick them up, you know what to do with them, they can be good. As long as you make them good. True. So that's like that beauty of AK, and it's such an adventure to be in. I hope more people will find out about the game eventually. Like this was one of the interesting questions that I had, which was, would you promote this game to your friends?
Actually, yeah. Like one of my actual friends, he stopped by in my stream. And he was like, what in the hell are you playing? And I said, Arknights. And he's like, okay, I'm going to sit and watch for a little bit. And so he's just kind of watching, me interact with the stream and just kind of playing the game. And he's watching me get clobbered by, different ads or bosses. Like my favorite, Crown Slayer, just absolutely, just breezing on by, At least for a newbie, that's definitely an enemy that's just
it's terrifying.
But just kind of seeing these characters and just how like one little thing can mess up your entire run, and you're like, all right, I gotta start over. So watch me for 2 hours, and he was like, bro, this game seems crazy. This seems pretty like you got to actually think. And for me, it was just one of those things. He actually ends up playing, or long story short, he plays it now. But he's a person that comes from a console background, so he doesn't play gacha games at all. So it was kind of interesting to see how that level of difficulty intrigued him. And for me, it's I feel like this game, like I said, offers so much more than just the actual gameplay aspect of it. So I would honestly personally share it, to be honest. I would. I've even tried to get my girlfriend to play, but she's not having it. Yeah, she's not having it. She's not having it.
Now, we're pushing on closing stuff. There's some personal questions. It's basically about what your plans are. So it's interesting to hear that you stated you had 3 YouTube channels. So how would you go about managing whatever that goes on? Because wouldn't that be a lot of work if that was the case?
It is. So I come from a background, and really a lot of the philosophies that I follow is that nothing is gained if there's nothing put in, right?
Oh, for sure.
So a lot of the times, you probably wouldn't even have guessed, I just did a 24-hour stream a day ago.
You told me that.
Yeah,
I did feeling.
I wanted to literally kill myself, but it's okay. I'm here. Because it's one of those things where I kind of understood a lot of how certain people get to certain places. And it's not by doing the norm, but by doing outlier things. So funny thing is, hold on, I'm gonna show you something, right? Don't laugh. Sure. It's gonna throw everybody off, right? They probably haven't even realized this. Right now, I have no eyebrows, right?
Did you do that for a stream?
Yes, I did. So
that's a surprise.
So it's the first thing he does is just laugh, right? But yeah, I have no.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll grow back. They'll grow back. I got some ointment on them. I'll be okay.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily saying like go on stream and cut your eyebrows off, but it's just the fact that it's like the things that I enjoy doing, like the challenges, whatever it might be. A lot of it is a lot of work. So even just going back to the aspect of running 3 channels, realistically, it's almost like kind of humanly impossible to run them efficiently.
Right.
You can do it, but it would have to be done into a way to where like you might be able, if you really want to be sweaty about it, you might be able to squeeze maybe 1 to 2 uploads per channel. And that's if you got content to talk about, you know, like it all depends on really what you're doing. So for me to be able to better manage them, one of the things that I think I learned in business school was at some point you're gonna have to learn how to pass the torch on, right? And you got to get okay with the fact that you can't do everything, even if you really like to, or you want to be hands-on with everything, you can't. So I think that's how I'm going to be kind of going about that process. It's kind of the reason why like I had to take this week away, because I had to get this other channel situated so that I could have that free time to kind of be a little bit more like back and forth on both. Because I really do enjoy Arknights, and I honestly think that that's probably going to be the game I keep on there for forever at this point, because it's like
really,
yeah, honestly, I mean honestly, like all the other games I have up there, I went through a Square Enix like kind of marathon, and I was just trying out a whole bunch of games, and Arknights was like really one of those random curveballs. Like I literally just tried it, and I absolutely loved the game, loved the community, and I was like, well, this is it. And on top of that, I've been able to create content in a way that makes me happy. I think that was what I was really searching for. It really wasn't necessarily like, oh, let's, you know, be this like top tier guide maker. It's just like, no, I just want to be who I am and you know, through my content or whatever. So with the managing of that, like I said earlier, it's like, you know, I'm hiring an artist, already have hired an artist, still trying to find an editor. So going through that process, like kind of scouting and doing all that stuff, getting more moderators, kind of understanding too, like the aspect of, or the saying, it takes money to make money. So kind of getting out of that mentality, like, oh, I don't want to pay anyone, I can just do it myself. And just kind of coughing it up, like saying, all right, here we go. We got to do this. So I think I'll be okay. But I do know that even with that being the case, it's still going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of managing. Because not only do I run 3 YouTube channels, or have 3 YouTube channels, but I also run a website. I have TikTok that I run, and then I still have like obviously my Twitter page, and then I also do stuff here and there on Twitch still. So it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. It is.
Are you able to take breaks from all of this?
Not really. No.
Oh no.
Like I would like to do that more often, but I feel like that's gonna come once I am a little bit more established in my content creation process. Because even though I've been doing it for a while, it's kind of one of those like kind of things that I kind of laugh at. It's like you can do it forever, but once you have a spike, or once you like grow, you technically are like, that is your actual real start.
Right.
And that's because you have people's attention. Now you have to do something to impress them, you know, and that's just kind of one of those things where it's like, if you don't, you know, you so like people are going to be like, why exactly am I watching this person again? Like, what are they offering? Like it's kind of like with everything, there's give and take. Like you have to offer something. And even if it's just a personality, or you make people laugh, or you make them smile every time they see you, like whatever it might be, you got to offer something. And I just think that's kind of where I'm at now. Like really for me, this is like the actual start to my process, because yeah, I actually am now doing real work for content creation, I would say. Yeah.
In a sense, things have basically picked up after quite a few years. You're starting to see that this is really developing a purpose.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, I mean, even like we think about this interview, like it wouldn't have been possible if I didn't start covering Arknights. We probably still wouldn't even have like know who each other are. Like, you know, outside of you, the other creator, like it's kind of crazy. I again, like just reacting to like crazy stuff. and interacted with Kaio, which like people just absolutely worship him. And I just kind of find it funny because the one thing he said to me, he didn't say anything else. He just said Segs with a question mark. And
in your stream, is it?
Huh?
When did he say that?
Oh, this was on a video I made. So I was just kind of like, and so my response was kind of funny because it was like, well, how much money are you trying to pay me? And so it just kind of it just became like this thing, and it's just, again, that kind of showed me that level of interaction that like people really do love to see their favorite creators and just people that are creating in general like interact with each other. It's like, we don't have to like. I think that's one thing that I'm starting to also notice too. The more I become more developed, is it's like you don't have to dislike each other. It seems like that's kind of one of the like the norms within like communities. It's like there's this constant like, let's start this beef with each other, and it's like, well, you're kind of just creating division instead of creating unity within your community to where people support everybody that's putting into that community. So I don't know. It's definitely one of those things like. It's been pretty rewarding, and I feel like it's only going to be more rewarding, but the greater the reward, the more work it requires. So
sure.
Yeah, that's the process right now, I guess.
Even so, please, this is like the warmest welcome I can give to you for playing Arknights. It's good to have you here, and so many of you as well. Eventually I'll get to speak to a bunch of people also following, but I'm just glad as someone who's like a long resident-ish of AK to just see more new faces enjoying the game. That really goes to say that the game is still growing, the game is still picking up from where it is. And I mean, at some point, one of the biggest hope that we have is for Hypergrave to also turn a bigger attention to the global server as well. Because for now, their focus is definitely on the CN, which is understandable. That's where the profits are at. But eventually, maybe there will be the shift if the global community takes a bigger speed. So that is something that we're hopeful for. Within this particular video itself as well, was there like a question or something that you wanted to talk about but I didn't cover?
No, man. I feel like I want to ask you a question. Like how have you felt over the last 2 years, covering Arknights, like being one of those established creators? Because I think that's like one of those things, like for me, like even just going through the experience of doing this interview, I think this holds a lot more gravity than some people might realize, is that when you have people that have been in certain, positions, or just kind of like you said, you're like an established resident in the game, being able to still keep the door open and say, hey, you're new, like come on in, and not so much of like, hey man, you missed that train, you're gonna have to like catch it on some other game or something like that. Like how do you feel like with like the progression, like where Arknights started to where it is now?
Well, it goes into the whole history of AK thing, because I mean, I feel like AK, there's lots of ups, there's lots of downs. When it first started, it was like a very pristine thing. Wow, new gacha game, let's try it out, and all the sort of stuff. And then there were a lot of creators who loved the game at the beginning. There were many old faces of AK, and I grew up with them. Like when I first started AK, I was watching Tectone, I was watching Zeus, I was watching some of the other creators that I may not be aware of the name. Some people love certain creators like Akron himself. And then things started to happen midway. So it's about the time when I started streaming AK that AK took a bit of a turn, where there was a bit of feud that occurred between creators. So it's like what you said, like creators needing to pick fights with each other. And then it was feuds even between communities, like the global community fighting with the CN community as well. And then things just fall apart. And Genshin then came in. So it was like the guardian angel, he flies down and then he picks up all these creators. In the first episode of the Hangout, we were calling it the Genshin migration. It's in the history books of AK, when all the creators started porting over. So a lot of us like to call that as one of the darkest times of AK, because it felt very miserable. It felt like the game was gonna die and everything, and it was just gonna not be popular. It would just die out like all the other gacha games. But that was exactly when I came in as a streamer, and there were a few other people as well But of course, we were nothing big. Unlike all the other creators that I've named, where we were just starting out, we're still trying to get our first maybe 10 viewers, 20 viewers, 50 viewers on Twitch, that sort of thing. So it was rough to get people spirit to be up at that point in time as a streamer as well. Because I love the game, but yet everybody is so disheartened. There's many people who I also heard they left the game because, well, they just follow the other creators. Wherever they go, they just it's like a sheep following the shepherd, that kind of thing. It's kind of harsh to say that, but it happens. We have that behavior. And then again, things started to stabilize a bit. All of a sudden, things were quiet. There was no drama. AK didn't have problems. I mean, the most problems that we had may have been something that you saw, which was the Chen Outer controversy, but that one happened in the CN community where they were a little upset about the character, whether it was too strong, they didn't like the character design and everything. So that was the first instance where there was really quite an uproar. But never again, ever since then. Like, everything's stabilized, even though new Outers get released, new Limited gets released, no one complains, everyone's pretty much happy. But apart from that, right, AK generally became quiet. Like, nothing happened, we were okay and all. And I think a lot of us have this uncertainty as to, are we even growing at that point? Are we just stagnant, or are we just silently going down in numbers? Because it definitely feels that way when we don't see traffic. It feels like maybe we're pandering to the same audience over and over again. But I think what changed in AK was when Undertights happened. So Undertights was the October event last year. It's supposed to be a second anniversary event because it was for CN, but for us it wasn't. It was like a random limited event. I think that was when people started coming back because probably it was like Skadi Alter, and then they were like, oh, I played this game before, I remember this character, so it's cool. Oh, she got limited, I come back. And I think when a lot of these returning players come back, they're like finding content creators, they're finding faces to associate themselves with. So that content creators have a very big role, honestly. Like, they have the ability to keep people glued. Without them, people are on their own, and if they don't have a strong link to anything, they'll just leave. That was the period of time where I suddenly see, I think there's traffic. I tried to really calm the players down. I told a lot of my viewers, like, it doesn't seem as bad. The revenue is showing signs of a small pickup, but it's not significant as well. At least it's not dropping. I think that was like the big thing to say. Yeah. But as time passed, I start to see that it's getting better and better. So one of the things that I put forth to one of the previous episodes, was it the next one? I don't know if it was the previous one, but I remember the times when I streamed and there wasn't a lot of people. Nowadays, when I stream, and I even see some of you guys streaming on YouTube, you could easily clock 400 viewers, 500 viewers. A year ago, 2 years ago, we don't have that. It was under 100 each time. And even video views, no one was watching stuff. And in recent days, things starts to pick up. More and more people are seeing the stuff. And I start to sense, I think there's more entry coming in to the game. So I feel heartened to see that sort of growth. And it really goes to say that there is those ups and downs that AK has faced throughout. It's a community that grew, and I would put the word that we matured, especially from whatever that happened in the past. Like, the era of all the old creators was definitely, it was a hellhole of its own. Nothing was stabilized. And even during those times was when, like I said about the mentality of the game, where people still carry forward their mentality in other gacha games, where you got to do certain things to play the game. We're starting to drift from that. I mean, certain veteran players still have that mindset. They carry it. It's like a habit. They can't get it out. But then, nowadays, for a lot of us, we start to perpetuate this thing where it's really just do your own thing. This is this game. Yeah. And we want to keep that culture going in this game. Like, it makes the game so much more welcoming than it is. And I think it sets forth even possibly more people coming into the game. When the anime gets released, when Enfield gets released, people are gonna know what AK is. They're like, oh yeah, I remember this game. Oh, and the story looks cool. Well, should I try the game? And if we build a good community now, we build a good culture now, repairing everything from the past, it sets us forward for like a really enjoyable time. I think one of the things that I will also answer when you say, how do I feel about it? It's like, at any point, do I suddenly feel discouraged? Maybe I don't want to do this anymore. I had moments like that. I think it was especially at the frontal part. I wasn't very sure if this was a game that I would play, but the more I get into it and the more I realize the community is really attached to me, that was when I say, this is a really unique place. I feel like if I was a creator for anything else, I won't get this experience. Like, that's the tall statement that I'll put. I can't experience this level of love, this level of support that people give for creators, and basically for each other, other players as well. The one to help people, the one for everyone to enjoy the same game, appreciate the same thing together. It's also a place that I would say in the 2 years, I've seen it help people. It's weird that we say it that way. Like, I've seen people grow out of their comfort zone, because I created a Discord server and everything, and my server has also grown. I've seen the days where no one was chatting. That was like 2 years ago. I only had 100 members and everything like that. And today it's more than 5,500 maybe members, and it's always active. Everyone is trying to help each other. Everyone's supposed to give each other support unit, and everyone's being passionate about the game. They're looking for the news, they're looking for the next character, and all that sort of stuff. That sort of culture is so amazing. In some way, maybe I influenced it in my own ways for my own community, but I just feel like it's odd. It gives you a sense of achievement like never before. I can't get this from school. In school, what am I going to get? An A grade report? Well, I can only celebrate it on my own. Everyone's just going to say congratulations, but it's just my own thing. But when people say, bro, you've created a virtual house that we all feel comfortable to live in, that feels very different.
Yeah,
it's unreal. So I'm just very attached to this place after 2 years. It's a journey. I didn't get to ask, what's your age?
How old am I?
Yes.
You want to guess?
27?
No.
24?
No.
Much older?
Nah.
Much
like, you're right there. No, a little older than 24.
25?
Yeah.
So you're slightly older than me, but I'm 22. So for me to play Arknights for 2 years, it's like as if I'm saying I played it for 10% of my life. It's really difficult to imagine, like, you would think, okay, school makes up a certain percentage of your life, other things make up a certain percentage, and this one takes up this portion. It's literally ingrained, but I've hit the point where would I trade it for anything else? I can't. I really can't. I feel like if I was a content creator and I went to Genshin, for example, which so many creators jumped ship into that, and it's easy to understand why. It's a bigger market. More people are playing. You want more views? Easy. You can get there. You'll get there. But I don't think I'll get the level of satisfaction that I have here. Like, I may even get into trouble when I'm there. Wink. Let's not get there.
Yeah, it's a wink.
So basically, that's that. That's our answer. I hope I managed to get that. Although, if you have follow-up questions, please go ahead.
No, I mean, I don't know. I think you answered that pretty well. I guess the only other question that I could think of, at least right now, is like, for you, like, because you said, like, because the one thing that you kind of said that, like, I didn't really think about is, like, you said, like, you feel like this took up a certain percentage of your life. Like, it's like, you seem like you're happy about that, though. Like, you're fine and content with that. Like, I've enjoyed, Arknights taking up that portion of my life or whatever. So I guess to kind of answer that, or to kind of follow up that question is, what would you say is like your hopes for Arknights? Like, what do you want to see moving forward into the future, with things like, Arknights Infield, or even just with the game itself, where it's currently at, and, just each respective market? Like, what would you like to see, kind of end up like developing or flourishing, like, I guess in that way?
I think this before I answer that, I extend a bit on the previous part where I said that it takes up 10% of life, and why I'm satisfied is that it's not just because I played a good game. It's a game that taught me a lot. Content creating in this space is quite unreal. I've never done content creation, and I never had the confidence for it at all. Yeah. I thought I wasn't cut out for it, but things change, and then I start to realize it's so different from whatever that people say. There's a lot of work that goes into thinking what you want to produce, how you want to produce, what are you going to say. And then once you expand beyond that, when you start to say, what if you try streaming? How do you entertain a person live? If you want to expand your socials, how do you build a community? How do you build a good social media site where people enjoy following your Twitter, for example? Like, there's a lot of things that go behind it. And then once you start to monetize your videos, it's almost as if you're studying business on YouTube. Like, it gets, you get the full platter. That's kind of why I would say I can't trade it, because all these learning experience, I'm a university student, and I don't get this in my school. I learned completely different things. I'm a programming student, but
okay.
I mean, even so, whatever skill sets that I'm learning now, this is just unofferable anywhere else. Unless you go to a streaming school, which I don't think is worth it. I think if people really want to start YouTube and Twitch, it's called do it. Just do it. Just do it. School ain't gonna do shit for you. Just find your own experience. Yeah. What do I wish for AK to become? I feel like the day when I see AK suddenly say, we're gonna do a mini convention in the US, in Singapore, in other countries. When they're able to expand and the attention gets out there, I will feel like the game is so achieved. The game has reached a point where they say, we've got a following in the world, and many people are enjoying this game. We've got the monetary capacity to do this. Like, I would feel proud for them. I would feel proud for the main developer. I think Lowlight that you saw in the 3rd anniversary stream, I am very impressed by him, because man seems like a very humble guy. He's passionate about his job, and he is basically a lead director of everything. Whether it's the story, whether it's the character design, whether it's the game design and all. So I would love to see that. I feel like, if I'm not wrong, AK was a passion project. I mean, it was a game that they definitely want to do, but it was out of pure passion that if you go to his Pixiv, which he has a Pixiv, but he doesn't update it ever since 2017, you will see that he drew Calcid in 2014 or 15. So he drew a prototype version of Calcid. So he was already building his own imagination of what he wants things to be. And I think he's living it out, his own dreams. And it would be great to see him propel it forward and just have the game to become bigger. In terms of even for all the content creators, to see viewership become bigger to the point where, honestly, it is a friendly competition, but I would love if we were directly contesting with Genshin. Like all the regular Genshin views. If we can have that same amount, that is where I'll say, bro, AK has made it. AK is really one of the top tier games that we are asking for. I see that there's potential, but I feel like in order for AK to reach there, it's a lot of work. It's not just on the developers, but it's a bit odd that we have to say content creators need to be a part of it. Content creators definitely are a spur. I mean, Genshin also lived on content creators. Otherwise, they wouldn't do content creators programs, they wouldn't do content creator competitions. And I think it's the same for AK. Content creators do have a big role to play, where if people start to see, hey, there's good people here, good people for me to watch, I want to play this game. And when that becomes even more and it grows, I can see the game picking up from a slow growth that it has now to something that's really fast. And I want to see the anime do well as well. When that happens, I'm hoping so. So that's my hopes for AK. I think it's not impossible, although also unpredictable. It's not guaranteed, but I will do what I can. I think even with this video that I have as well, this being the Hangout series where I get to spend time with all of you guys, I also hope that it gets people to feel a little bit better for the fact that they get to experience a side of content creators that they don't know. As I mentioned at the start, AK is all about content. It's very game oriented, but this is something different. It's something for people to see, hey, there's a different side of us that y'all may not be aware about, that you guys may be interested in. So I hope that that's what will help eventually. I have already seen, at the time of filming, I've already uploaded the first episode, and some people already say, I would love if you hang out with this person, that person. I think people make some guesses. Your name hasn't appeared yet, but your name has definitely appeared within my editor space. So definitely more people will know you from here. Please, for everyone who's watching, do follow Zoxas after this. You will have fun in his channel as well, as much as I do. Because I have seen the reaction that you did for my video, but I didn't watch the whole thing. But I was very... It just felt nice to have some support that you guys were also watching it at that point in time. A lot of content creators messaged me that day about how they feel. They thought that I was doing a proper message to the whole thing. Although reactionarily, the man himself reacted, it wasn't good. It was not good.
I think that's one of those things too, like, I don't know, man. I think I'm kind of understanding like why the community feels a certain way about like things, especially like with creators that used to be in the community. And I think it's kind of like, it's like after people have been wounded, it is kind of like one of those things they carry with them is a scarring, and so anything that kind of reminds them of that pain, it sometimes draws out certain things, right? But then it's also too, like, you got to understand, I feel like one thing that I don't do, and it's because I don't really take much serious, it's just hard for me to, is the fact that and I think this is even, I think, is like something for the audience to kind of put into perspective. Everything that, that is done a lot of the times, especially by content creators at much higher, like, calibers or followings, is calculated. So I don't think that was said and done in the way it was just because, like, it was a way to, and they always say, and I'm not sure if it's saying there, but they say any publicity is good publicity. So they look at it as like, hey, if we can pull from over in there and stir something there, there's just more eyes. So I always tell people, I'm like, instead of like, getting upset about it and like really like grabbing pitchforks and torches, a lot of the times the best thing to do is to kind of ignore things, and just kind of talking in things in like more of a constructive manner, which I know is like kind of asking for like world peace, but like, it's just one of those things. I think the more that we understand that, like, and we take things for what they actually are, and we understand and seeing past how people might, do certain things, and that's whether it's viewer and or creator, I feel like people will be a lot more, understanding and much more okay with just kind of like saying, hey, it is what it is. Like, we got other stuff going on over here. Like, we're trying to enjoy ourselves, within our community or within our space. So I think that's the biggest thing, is to, I say even for us as creators, to always stick to that aspect of it. Because I do feel like that situation specifically did draw a lot of emotion. And that's why, as somebody at the time, like coming in fresh, not really having the same emotional ties as everyone else, I think that was kind of important for me even to like say something, because it's like, realistically, these things do affect when newer people are coming in. Because if I was one of those people that just kind of listen to someone, based off of like how many, subscribers they have or they're following, that could have deterred me from, actually finding a game that I actually really love to play. So again, I just think it's just one of those things where it's one of those basic lessons that your words are impactful, and it just shows how powerful we are as content creators, and we just have to be mindful in how we utilize our platforms. So yeah, I mean, it's just, it's one of those things, like with the bad, there's always good, and it's yin and yang, I guess, or yang. And I don't know, man. I feel like for me personally, I felt like you relayed the information perfectly. Any normal person would have taken it that way. So it's just one of those things, though. Like I said, you handle it perfectly. Even with this podcast, I think it's also like, I feel like it could be, to a degree, part of what your purpose is and what you're trying to do with your channel. And I really do appreciate the opportunity, because you could have just said, hey man, chill over there, but you said, hey man, come on here, let's talk. And even just over the food, it just makes it a little bit more like personable, and not just like just, hey, who are you, what do you do? It's like, actually building friendships too, which I do appreciate.
I think my goal for doing all this hangout is that all this while for like the past year, because I'm a university student, I'm so busy. I don't have the time to like get to know people. And yet I find that there's an emphasis for the community to be close-knit. So to do this isn't just for like the sake of video and whatnot. I also using this time, because it's my holidays, to really speak to all these creators I never got to. Like, it's really to get to know one another, to know that we exist and how we are able to support each other in whatsoever way. And I find that it's important to set this up, because instead of going for a discourse approach where the community is so divided because there's so many opinions everywhere, and how about we go with this approach where we're united despite the differences? And with this unity, when we talk about the future of AK, now the future is going to be unpredictable when NFU comes. Because when NFU comes, it's very likely a lot of AK creators will go there as well, because we want to try the game. It's along the same world setting-ish. So a lot of creators, some of the old ones, new ones, will come in the game as well. I think one of the things that I want to set forth before that happens is to ensure that this community is already, like, you could say it's an iron shield. We're ready for anything. Because one of the things I would hate to see AK is that it devolves into the previous negative state that it was.
Yeah, like, I can agree with that.
We're not against new creators coming in at all, but yet at the same time, we don't want that sort of culture of peace that we've long lived and long appreciated to be disrupted. You know, we just want to play our game, we just want to have fun, we don't want any drama or of that sort. So this is one of the things that is also my goal from being able to get to know all the content creators. I believe even after this, a lot of content creators will be working together quite a bit. Actually, there are some content creators about to create other stuff different from me as well, to really interact with each other. So it's going to be exciting to see that sort of change where all of us are taking effort to make this community just so much more interesting than before. And I think this is an exciting time for AK. 2022, before I came in here, before I came into this year, I've already thought of this as this is going to be a crazy year. I set my hopes up. I said this is a year for AK. There's good game modes. I see there's good updates. I know that the content creation space will be a lot bigger, and it's exciting to see that. Savor the growth and really look forth to just helping this space to become better. I think that's like the thing that I hope for here. So in any case, for yourself to have hang out together with me in this video, I hope that you enjoyed. If you didn't see the clock, it's 2 hours long.
Yes, it is. So we gotta stop people.
We've chat a lot. No, but it's okay. I think people enjoy it. I got some feedback from the earlier ones, and people are saying like, oh, the 2 hours didn't even feel like 2 hours. It's nice to listen to people chat over so many various topics. Now, if there's something that you can say to the people who's watching, what would you say?
Man, I think what I would say, and it's one thing that like I think over I don't want to sound old, but after all this time, it's something that happens. It's like the world, like, it connects fully when you hit 25 for some reason. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like because your brain develops
I'm gonna
fully.
get there also.
Like, I don't know what it is, but I think that's one of the things that has made me like kind of look at content creation the way I have been. And I would say to anyone that's watching, you know, given the state of the world that we live in, and also then looking at the states of the games that we've been playing, I would say make the best out of every moment, right? Even if it is you just watching your favorite creator, you know, you playing, you know, a stage on Arknights, you enjoying an event, like whatever it is, make the best out of it. Make a memory out of it, I would say. I just really do believe like a lot of the stuff that we've experienced and even are going to experience, like we don't really give it the necessary like value that it deserves. Because life, like moments and things that we get to experience, whether it's with friends, favorite creators, wherever it might be, it happens once, you know. So I definitely say make the best of it. And that's the one thing I would drop. Like if I had to say anything, you know, I'm not like super like in tune with myself. But like, you know, I would definitely say that for sure.
It's great. It's a great message to savor every moment. And honestly, I have that thought as well. I tell myself, no, but I have a more morbid way of seeing it. People get really worried whenever I do this, but it's a strong quote I live by that I tell people, honestly speaking, you don't know when you're leaving. Like, you don't know what will happen in this world. You don't know your fate. I think of everybody as like, we've got a weird ticking time bomb in us. We don't know if we're going to live till 100, 120 or something earlier. And while it's a scary thought, don't let it affect you all the time. It's just the fact that now that you know it, you can then tell yourself, damn, every second, every minute counts. Everything that you do, make it special. Because there's no point being angry, there's no point being sad. You know, to find the best moments, the things that makes you enjoy life for what it is. You know, life is gonna be full of pain, there's gonna be suffering. Even in our line of work, content creation is a lot of pain. That's being straight up honest. lots of mental stress that goes behind it. But at the end of the day, there's also the worth that comes with it that makes us feel when we publish our things, we've done something good, it helps someone else out, whether it's in the form of entertainment or that they get information. So, really just make everything count in your life and appreciate stuff. I think that's a wonderful thing to have put. And if not, Zoxas, thank you for being here. We'll still be chatting, don't worry, but I'll put a stop to the recording. So,
that's all right.
Let me just do just that. All right, you can say goodbye. Bye-bye.
All right, bye, guys.